we didn't have any trouble coming up with stories. We just had trouble picking out which ones were suitable for the occasion. It was a little bit more difficult than we thought, but once we had those picked out, it was pretty easy to just kind of go through and arrange it all in some sort of manner. But my dad, as you can see, my brother and my dad both have shaved head. I decided to not shave my head so that you guys could have at least some way to tell us apart, which is convenient for both us and my dad, because when we were kids, he actually just called my brother Adam Ben and me Ben Adam all the time, and eventually he just stopped using our names altogether and converted it to son and boy. And when he answered the phone, he just went with a quick, "Hello, Adam Ben." That's maintained to the day. He still calls us son all the time, or boy, and it's actually extended out to his friend as well, so every once in a while I'll hear him call someone else's kid, "Hey boy," or "Hey girl." What's that girl's name? What's that man's name? It goes on. But I'm saying all this because we do love you, Dad. You've been great to us. You've done so much for us and took us on so many different adventures. But I want to start with a quote that he said yesterday. It said, "I'm not old, I'm just older than you." Which sounds nice, but I do believe that makes you old. He is, and as you heard then, he is also great at preparing for all situations. So I had a couple stories for that, but it kind of went through all our childhood. And what he actually did, he loved Sam's Club. He went there all the time, and whenever we would go in the cabinet, we had no shortage of food. But the problem was that every single food container was, the size of half their torso. So he wouldn't buy a box of Cheerios. He would buy a box with 4 boxes of Cheerios inside. Or he wouldn't buy olives. He would buy pickles and olives in these jars like this big. Like the jars that you see at Jimmy John's behind the counter. Those were in our cabinet. But we were ready. We were ready for any situation. So the day when he came home, he had purchased an ambulance, and he brought that home.
What? It's true. An ambulance?
Oh, it gets better.
It gets better.
Oh, yeah.
So he actually came home. He came home with an ambulance. He saw it for sale on the street, so he bought it.
It had the stretcher. It had the siren still work.
It had the microphone still work. We were warned that it was against the law to use that stuff, so we avoided it. But what we did use in the back, it had all the outlets that for the shocker things.
Oh.
We converted those to outlets for TVs, and we loaded it up with GameCubes, Xboxes, got a bunch of stale cheese balls, and actually drove it up to Mall of America and on another occasion Kalahari. But it was great because when we were driving, as we went, all the cars would just move out of it. So we loved it. It still said ambulance on the side, it just didn't have the lights going on.
How much did you pay for this? It's for sale, by the way.
But regardless of the situation, he's able to manage it pretty calmly. Like there was one time when he came home and he had just managed to nail gun his thumb to a shingle. Or another time when he actually was driving down the street and he hit a patch of ice and just T-boned a tree. He's still driving that truck, I believe. It's now at, 250,000 miles? He's managed to keep that going this entire time. There's always a solution for him. No matter what it was. So when our neighbor started complaining that all of the birds were dying because our cat was killing them, he went out and he bought 5 new bird feeders. So they were still dying, it was just more birds were coming. Or in another situation, actually, he built this fantastic house on the west side of Madison. It was beautiful. But the housing market crashed just conveniently when he was trying to sell it. So his solution to that was we just moved in. So it was two of us in like a 6-bedroom house with more bathrooms than us, and conveniently the floor was a giant dance floor. Apparently he couldn't sell this house of all the houses that he had built. But it worked great because my brother and I mean, we were in high school at the time, and my dad liked to travel. So, and at the time, my brother actually worked in a movie theater, so I mean, there'd be days when we'd come home and there would just be bags this size, like 3 or 4 bags full of popcorn left over from the movie theater. Or another occasion, my dad would come home and there'd be beer bottles in the trash can and things like this. So we had our paths crossed in that regards, but it was a great house. It was a lot of fun. It was great for the cat that liked to hunt birds because he could hunt the field mice that were in the farm in the backyard. But also in this house, he even had speakers. There were speakers all in all the ceilings in all the rooms. So every morning when I woke up and got out of bed, I would always hear either who was it?
Enrique
Iglesias or Celine Dion blaring through the speakers every morning. And my dad would be in the kitchen dancing, singing, and cooking breakfast.
You know this is all true.
Frozen hash browns every day.
Yeah, hash browns or eggs in a tortilla just about every single breakfast. And then we would proceed. I would drive his truck with him in the driver's seat while he was scared out of my mind to class every day. That was great. I feel bad for him in the passenger seat. But thanks, Dad. I'm happy you've been so successful. It's the fact that you've been able to buy this ambulance. Providing us endless memories like these is uniquely Yehuda Elmakias. I don't think anyone else can say their father comes home with an ambulance or a nail through his thumb. And luckily Julie has been great to him. It's amazing to see how she treats him, particularly in that all of his little mistakes that he makes with English, she's able to laugh it all off. So when he calls himself a waitress, she's able to take it in good humor, not mock him for his bad grammar. Or in another instance, Julie wasn't here for this one, but when we were kids, I remember we were in Applebee's, I believe it was. And the waiter's name was Brad. And the entire time, my dad just kept calling him Bread. So he would call the waiter over, bread. And they were confused out of their mind because they just thought we wanted bread. We definitely have plenty more. As I said, these are the more audience-appropriate ones. But I want to say, Dad, thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being, when I went to the Zen Center, he was a great support for that. I actually had only planned on going to the Zen Center and attending there, but he actually told me about the yoga ashram that he had heard about from one of his friends, so he actually helped me find further things that I was interested in, was supportive in that regard. He's also, he's given me great genes. I'm balding before I'm able to bald here. I learned... I didn't really realize how bad... I didn't really realize how bad my English grammar was until I became an English major at UW. And I think many of you have heard, as kids we were teaching him English instead of him teaching us Hebrew. So I have to hold that against him. It would have been nice to have been bilingual, but he needed to learn how to be bilingual. Like, what was that? English, French, Arabic, Hebrew. So
DJ's turn early.
he was doing his way around the world with that. But he's taught me so many life lessons, and for all this, all the support that you've given us, all the great things that you do for Adam and I, you support us no matter what we are doing, no matter where we're going in the world, and you've given us the freedom to do what we want and make our own mistakes, whether it be having parties in your basement or going on road trips across the country and spending our college tuition. You've led us to it. I came back and I learned how to work 70 hours a week, though, on the plus side. So he let it take its natural course. All these things have been so exceptional for us. And for that, Dad, thank you. Thank you for giving us a chance to grow up and be who we are. And thank you for ensuring that we have no chance of becoming normal.